Hello friends, in this video we'll create API controller class. Inside that API controller class we'll configure all about API methods. If I back to editor, so as we had discussed inside development plans that inside this first phase of API development we'll create CRUD based APIs, C for create, R for read, U for update and D for delete. So all these API methods we need to create inside our controller class. So first thing first, we need a API controller class. So I will create API controller class using PHP Artisan. And also if I go to editor, go inside app, HTTP controllers. So what we want, if we want to create API controller class, so I want that file will go inside our API subfolder inside this controllers. It means we want one more subfolder inside this controllers called API, and inside that folder we'll have API controller class. Back to terminal, PHP Artisan make controller. I will pass API, its folder name / I want to create API controller class. If I press enter, now we can see that app HTTP controllers, and here we have one more subfolder called API, and inside that subfolder here we have our API controller class. Back to editor, go inside app, HTTP controllers API, and this is our API controller class. Now in this controller class we want all about these API methods, like for add employee API method, list employee, single employee, update employee and delete employee. So back to editor. So first we'll create add employee. This method will hit using post request type and also will receive form data. So here let's call it as public function add employee, and here this will be something add-employee means this will be the route. By the help of that we'll call this add employee method. Now next we'll create another method that is for list employee. This method will hit using get request type. So here public function and it will be something list employee. And if you're talking about the route, so this method will hit using something called list-employee. Now next let's create for single employee. So single employee details API method details, and this method will hit using get request type, and the method public function get, let's say single employee, and the route it will be something / single-employee, and also inside URL we'll pass employee ID, so that on the behalf of employee ID what we get from URL, on the basis of that we will fetch or retrieve that specific employee information. So inside URL we'll have employee ID. So in this method also will receive the employee ID. So this will be our third method. Next we need for update employee. So update employee, this method will hit using put request type, also will receive form data and also will have our employee ID into URL. So public function, it will be update employee. Inside API URL we'll have the employee ID. So employee ID, in this method the API URL will be something called update-employee, and here we'll have imp ID. And final, the last method we need inside this API controller class, and that will be for delete employee API, and this method will hit using delete request type. So here it will be for delete employee. This method will hit using delete request type and also will pass employee ID into URL. So public function, it will be delete employee, and here we need to pass employee ID. If you're talking about the URL, so it will be delete-employee. So successfully, here we have created all about API controller class as well as we had defined all about methods declaration. In our coming video, we'll create model means API model as well as work on these methods to create APIs. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.